أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون أأتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغن عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين وإذا قيل لهم انفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعموا من لو يشاء الله وطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم أن لا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نعمره ننكسه في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون اللهم Surah Fatiha is requested for all marhumin.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك وأتوجه إليك بنبيك نبي الرحمة محمد صلى الله عليه وآله، يا أبا القاسم يا رسول الله، يا إمام الرحمة، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها اشفع لنا. يا أبا الحسن يا أمير المؤمنين، يا علي بن أبي طالب، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها اشفع لنا. يا فاطمة الزهراء، يا بنت محمد، يا قرة عين الرسول، يا سيدتنا ومولاتنا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيهة عند اشفعي لنا. يا أبا محمد، يا حسن بن علي، أيها المجتبى يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها اشفع لنا. يا أبا عبد الله، يا حسين بن علي، أيها الشهيد يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها اشفع لنا. يا أبا الحسن، يا علي بن الحسين، يا زين العابدين يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها اشفع لنا. يا أبا جعفر، يا محمد بن علي، أيها الباقر يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها اشفع لنا. يا أبا عبد الله يا جعفر بن محمد أيها الصادق يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها اشفع لنا. يا أبا الحسن يا موسى بن جعفر أيها الكاظم يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها اشفع لنا. يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن موسى أيها الرضا يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها اشفع لنا. يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها التقي الجواد يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها اشفع لنا. يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن محمد أيها الهادي النقي يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها اشفع لنا. يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي أيها الزكي العسكري يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا وصي الحسن والخلف الحجة أيها القائم المنتظر المهدي يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. حاجات. يا سادتي وموالي إني توجهت بكم أئمتي وعدتي ليوم فقري وحاجتي إلى الله وتوسلت بكم إلى الله واستشفعت بكم إلى الله فاشفعوا لي عند الله واستنقذوني من ذنوبي عند الله فإنكم وسيلتي إلى الله وبحبكم وبقربكم أرجو نجاة من الله فكونوا عند الله رجائي يا سادتي يا أولياء الله صلى الله عليهم أجمعين ولعن الله أعداء الله ظالميهم من الأولين والآخرين آمين رب العالمين.
محمد وآل محمد صلوات. حسين الغريب الغريب الحسين حسين الشهيد الشهيد الحسين حسين الغريب الغريب الحسين حسين الشهيد الشهيد الحسين. दुहाई दुहाई खुदा रा दुहाई ये दाश्ते बला में है कैसी तबाही बहाया है किसने ये खूने मुहम्मद कयामत ये ढाई है किसने इलाही जवानों बुजुर्गों को मारा गया है शहीदों में शामिल है नन्हा सिपाही हुसैन अल गरीब अल गरीब अल हुसैन हुसैन अल शहीद अल हुसैन. किया जश्न बरपा यूं अहले हवस ने शहीदों के लाशों पे डंके बजाए जला डाल आले मुहम्मद के खैमे सकीना के मुंह पर तमाचे लगाए जो बीमार था उसका बिस्तर न छोड़ा नबी ज़ादियों पर भी दुर्रे चलाए हुसैन अल गरीब बल हुसैन हुसैन शहीद शहीद अल हुसैन. उठी अपने मरकद से बिनते मुहम्मद सियाह शब की चादर में चेहरा छुपा कर गई करबला में तो उसने ये देखा है बोसीदा कुर्ते में एक लाश बेसर बदन सारा तीरों से चलनी पड़ा है लहू में है डूबा हुआ सारा पैकर हुसैन अल गरीब अल हुसैन हुसैन अश-शहीद अल हुसैन. तड़प कर वो चिल्लाई शब्बीर बेटा लहू में नहाए हो सर भी जुदा है तबर किसने मारे हिसारे बदन पर, ये तीरों पे किसने जनाजा रखा है, कहाँ है मेरा लाल अब्बास बोलो, मैं पूछूंगी उससे ये कैसे हुआ है हुसैन बल गरीब अल हुसैन हुसैन शहीद अल हुसैन कभी दिल में देती वो माँ को सदाए, कभी रो के कहती कि बाबा कहाँ हो, शहीदों का नोहा था उसकी ज़बा पर, अबद किस तरह उसके गम का बयां हो, हमें भी सआदत हो नुसरत की हासिल, खुदारा ज़हूरे इमाम ज़मां हो, हुसैन अल गरीब अल हुसैन हुसैन الشهيد الحسين حسين غريب الحسين حسين الشهيد الحسين محمد وآل محمد صلوات.
The world is filled with injustice, and everyone is waiting for justice. And the justice is waiting for Imam Mahdi alayhi salam. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. What will be our state when Imam Mahdi comes? What will be our state when Imam Mahdi comes? The wounds from Makkah and Medina will remain forever fresh. Sham, Kufa, Karbala will remain forever fresh. What happened in Saqifa, inflicted by the non-believers, all the sorrows that were born, all the pain that was caused, each and every one will repay. Each and every one will repay when Imam Mahdi comes. What will be our state when Imam Mahdi comes? Those who suspect the justice and the verdict of Allah, the status of our prophethood, the purity of Fatima, the vice regency of Ahmad, the passing on to Murtaza, those who suspect the 12, the hidden life of the 12, everyone will bow down. Everyone will bow down when Imam Mahdi comes. when Imam Mahdi comes. जख्म है अभी ताजा मक्का और मदीना में शाम कूफा कर बो बला हम भुला नहीं सकते अज सकी फताई दम गैर से नहीं पहुँचे जितने दुख दुखाए हैं हमने कलमा गोयों से एक एक चुकाएंगे एक एक चुकाएंगे जब इमाम आएंगे व मोहम्मद वाल मोहम्मद सलवात सल्ले अला मोहम्मद वाल अल-फातिहा
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين والعاقبة لأهل التقوى واليقين. الصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد ثم الصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وهو أصدق الصادقين وقوله الحق. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والضحى والليل إذا سجى ما ودعك ربك وما قلى. صلوات. Respected brothers and sisters in Iman, Salamun Alaikum wa Rahmatullahi wa Barakatuh. First and foremost, we send our salams, our blessings, our salutations, our condolences to the Imam of the time, Imam al-Zamana, Ajjarallahu Farajahu Sharif. Secondly, we send the condolences to the students of the houses, the marajas, and lastly to each and every mu'min and mu'minah there is on the martyrdom days of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein and his companions. We had started a topic last time I was here, and this will be the continuation of that topic, and it was preparation for the Akhirat. Manazil Akhirat. This will be the third lecture on this series. In the first one, we had mentioned how the ruh or the spirit is going to be taken out. The second one, I was mentioning the rights of your body parts and what you can do. Continuing with that, we all have our own rights. Some of us have the rights of being a good role model. Some of us have the rights of being good parents. Some of us have the rights of being the true brothers and sisters in Iman. You know your right best. A man comes to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam. He asks, what is the rights of the parents to a child and vice versa? Meaning, what are the rights of the children to the parents? The Prophet says, the rights of the children for their parents is the following: that they don't even say the task and it is already completed. What does that mean? Does that mean you become a mind reader? No. The Prophet is saying, if you know your father or your mother's routine, for example, your father comes home at 7 o'clock every day, you know he has a favorite dish, or you know he wants to watch his favorite channel, you being the good child, the right is you make sure you give him that food on a daily basis. Yes. This is the right of the children on the parents. And then the Prophet goes on and he says, the parents have three types of rights. Number one, give your children a good name. Yes. Do not name them Christopher or Steve, yes, or Kevin or Stephanie, and then expect them to become Salman Farsi or Mukhtar Thaqafi. So make sure you give them a good name. Hassan, Hussein, Zainab, Salamullah alayha, or any of the following. The second right the parents have is tarbiyah, the guidance. Where have you learned how to say Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein? Is there any particular school or university which teaches you how to do Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein? Is there any school or Islamic institute or college which teaches you how to say Ya Hussein? No, brothers and sisters. This is the right of your parents. This is the right of your mother. This is why we see that our sisters, they bring their toddlers and their infants into the majalis Hussein. Yes, this is their right. The third right a parent has for the child is teaching them the etiquettes of Islam, teaching them the true Islam, yes, and then teaching them the akhlaq of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. So each of us, in conclusion, we have our own rights. You know what your rights are. Moving along, one day, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa wasallam, he is sitting and he is speaking to Imam al-Muttaqin Ali ibn Abi Talib, and he says, Ya Ali, one day Jibreel came down to me and he says, I have seen 7 actions of humans that I wish I was a human. Now, who is this speaking? Jibreel, Sayyidul Malaika, the CEO of all of the angels. Yes, the president of all of the angels. He says, I have seen 7 actions that I wish I was a human. What are these? Number one, the prayers in Jama'ah, the congregational prayers, the group prayers. Some of the ulama have written that if you meet all of the requirements of the prayer and you start praying in a group, when you are praying in that group, there is 70,000 angels praying with all of you. Allahu Akbar. Imagine the reward. 70,000 angels. Let me mention a story. There's a man by the name of Mirza Khalil Hamdani. He used to live in Isfahan, Tehran. One time, he says, I went to the ziyarat of Abu Abdullah. While I am at the ziyarat, in my dream, I see my mother, her nose is broken and she has passed away. He thinks to himself, when I left, see, back in the day, the ziyarat wasn't like it is today. You get on the airplane, after 14, 15 hours, you get there. It took days and days. He says, because of that dream, I extended my trip. When a caravan came from my village, there was a letter from me. It was my brother, and he had stated that our mother has passed away. Please make the arrangements. He said, I made the arrangements. When the caravan arrived and the body of my mother had arrived, what do I see? My mother's nose is bleeding. When I asked the caravan, the Salar, the leader, what happened, he said, your mother's body had fell off of the camel face first. Allahu Akbar. He says, I arrange the burial. We take my mother's grave, we go and do the circles of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi. After we finish doing the tawaf, I tell them to stop and pause. While the body is paused, I turn around, I raise my right hand, and I say, O Abul Fadl al Abbas, please take care of my mother. Why? She never used to take care of her prayer. And then he says, I made a promise. I said, Oh, Abul Fadl Abbas, I will make sure to pay 50 years of my mother's prayers. Mirza Khalil says, I did the burial. I go back to Tehran. Few months pass by. In my dream, what do I see? It is my city. It is my street. Someone knocks on my door. This is his dream. Someone knocks on his door. What do I see? There is a tree. On that tree, my mother has been chained. And people are throwing stones at her and they are whipping her. I asked the people, who are you? Why are you doing this? They respond, Abul Fadl al Abbas has ordered us to torture her. What does he do? He says, I take my mother down, I bring her into the house, and she says, Oh, my son, you had made a promise with Abbas. Why are you not taking care of that promise? He says, I got up from my dream. I went and I paid the full amount of 50 years of prayers. After they were completed, after a few months, my mother came into my dream and she says, I have been blessed. I am in paradise and I am in the same status as Abul Fadl al Abbas. You see the importance of prayer? Allahu Akbar. So make sure if you claim to be the slave of Abul Fadl al Abbas, If you carry the flag of Abu Fadil, there should never be a day that you leave your prayer. Yes. Some people say it is Muharram. Can we delay our prayers because of the majalises and the nohas? The question is no. Why not? The answer is Azadari all the time, prayers on time. Yes. Whenever it is time to pray, make sure. Make sure those hands that go up for the Latmiya and the Nohas and the Matam, those hands should also go up in prayer. Yes. May Allah give us a tawfiq that we can pray on time. As I was mentioning, Jibreel was saying, I have seen 7 actions from the humans that I wish to be a human. First was the prayers in the Jamaat. The second one, companionship with the true scholar. Those scholars that as soon as you see, you start to do dhikrullah. Those scholars who know their rights. Brothers and sisters, this member, the podium, they have the rights also. The ulama, whoever you call, make sure you don't call anybody who doesn't even know the rights of the member. Yes. The third, establishing peace between two people. Our 11th Imam, Imam Hussain al-Askari, salawatullah wa salamu alayhi, the Imam says, your best brother in Iman is the one who forgets your faults, and he is the one who remembers your good doing. Yes. Your true brothers do not bring up those things. Oh, 4 years ago, you didn't give me parking space. That's why I am not going to be friends with you. This is not your true brother. The fourth thing Jibreel wishes to become a human is honoring the orphans, taking care of the yateens. The fifth one, visiting those who are sick. Now, do you know the thawab for visiting the sick? Our fifth Imam, Imam Muhammad Baqir, Baqir al-Ulum. The Imam says, if you visit your brothers who are sick, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will promise 2 things after you visit him. Number one, He promises that He will not kill you with the same sickness that this person is sick from. Yes. For example, if you know a brother or a sister has, for example, cancer, and you go visit them, Allah promises, I will not take your life with cancer. The second thawab is after you visit a sick person, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will create an angel. This angel will follow you around everywhere you go, every moment of your life. After you pass away, it will stay on the grave. It will keep praying for your maghfirat. Until the day of judgment, it will keep praying for your maghfirah. Allahu Akbar. Yes. This is the honor, this is the thawab of visiting the one who is sick. The sixth action, attending the funeral procession. Someone asks Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, says, what is the reward if you go to the funeral? The Prophet says, after the funeral finishes and you come home, You will become like the child who has come out of the mother's womb today. There will be no sins in your book of A'mal. Yes. Everything will be erased. The seventh reason Jibreel says, I wish to become human is giving water to the pilgrims of Hajj. Giving water to the pilgrims of Umrah. Yes. May Allah take us to Hajj and Umrah. Moving along, as we are speaking about the preparation of Akhirat, one day there's a man by the name of Asbagh ibn Nabata. He is the class fellow of Salman Farsi. Salman Farsi, after a while, he had moved away from all of the Arab worlds and he used to live closer to the border of Iraq and Iran. One day, his friend visits him. He knocks on the door. Salman doesn't answer. When he is ready to go, he says, maybe Salman doesn't like me anymore. Maybe he has changed over the years. When Asbagh is ready to go, a voice comes. He says, oh, Asbagh, I am handicapped. I cannot move. Can you please come inside and help me? Asbagh goes inside. What does he see? He sees Salman is laying there. He is barely breathing. Salman says, oh, Asbagh, can you do me one favor? He says, yes. Can you carry me and take me to the graveyard? He says, why do you want to go to the graveyard? He said, when Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he was alive, I asked him, can you please tell me when it will be the time of my maut? The Prophet said, Allah promised that he has kept this secret to himself. I will give you a sign. When that sign happens, know that you are ready to leave this world. What is that sign? When it is time for you to leave, a deceased body will speak to you. O Asbagh, I want to test what the Prophet said. Asbagh carries him. He takes him to the graveyard. And he says, when they get into the graveyard, he says, Assalamu alayka ya ahlil qubur. All the ones who are sleeping in the graves, Salman is saying, Salamun alaykum. They wait a while. Asbagh says, why don't we go back home? When they are ready to leave the graveyard, a sound comes from one of the graves. Wa alaykum assalam ya Salman Farsi. Allahu Akbar. Salman says, my prophet was true. Yes. He had told me the truth, or he had told me the truth. Now Salman says, before I leave, this man, the deceased one, he started to cry. And he said, oh Salman, I wish I knew what was going to be asked in grave, so I would have prepared myself. Yes. Remember the preparation of Akhirah. Then Salman asks the deceased body, can you give me three things that will help me the most? He says, Salman, if you can do three of the followings, your grave will become Jannah. What are the three? Number one, Salatul Layl. Pray namaz tahajjud. Number two, Sawmil Yom. Start fasting in the normal days. Yes. Some of our brothers and sisters, They can't even fast in Ramadan. Yes. So start fasting outside of Ramadan. And number three, give sadaqah in such a manner that no one but Allah and you know that you gave sadaqah. Yes. If you can do three of these, your grave will become the paradise. Moving along, our sixth Imam, Imam Jafar al-Sadiq, Sadiq Ali Muhammad. Before I mention that, let me mention a story and then I will end my speech. This has been written in the book of Ibrahim al-Haddad or al-Hadi. Says there was a man, he doesn't write his name. He says there was a man, he used to be a volunteer in the local Hussainiyas or the local mosques. This man, he always used to pray that I want to be a shaheed. I want to be a martyr. He says there came a time when this person, he got sick and his left eye was wounded. All of the doctors, they advised him that you need to get surgery. There's a certain vein that we need to cut that connects the brain and the eye. This man says, all of the doctors told me that you have 60% chance of dying. He said, I have been praying to my Allah. I have been doing all of the ibadat. Even if I die, I am prepared for the akhirat. Yes. They go ahead with the surgery. The surgery takes about 6.5 hours. After 6.5 hours, this man says, I sit up on my bed. There is no pain. I feel nothing. I have never felt this way in many years. The pain that I used to have in my eye for 30 years, automatically that pain is gone. While I am sitting there, I see from the time when I was an infant till when I arrived into the hospital. He says, I see the doctors and the nurses, they are moving around. And then on the left side, I see that there is this one bright face. It is standing there. And it is smiling at me. And it is saying, shall we go? Are you ready? He says, I asked him, what do you mean? As soon as I say, what do you mean? I hear the doctor, we tried our best. This person could not make it. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. He says, I look to the left. I see my uncle who had passed away many years ago. I see my cousin who was a shaheed. I see my mother. And then this person or this nur that was standing there, it smiles at me again and it says, are you ready to go? I say, who are you? He says, I am Malkal Maut. You used to pray that you want to become a shaheed? He says, yes. Unfortunately, shahadat hasn't been written for you. I am here to take you. He says, yes, I am prepared. I have prepared for the akhirah. Fast forward, he says, two angels, the one on your right and your left. That nur that is standing there, he says, are you ready to go? He says, no, I do not want to go. I want to stay with my wife. She is pregnant. I have a small child. She's only 3 years old. The angels on the right and the left, they say, you have no choice. They push me. They pushed me, and now what do I see? I am in the desert, and we are going, and we are going, and I reach a spot where there's an angel standing there. He says, "Stop." When he says stop, if there's a book, he throws that book on the table. What do I see? My name has been written there. And it says right next to my name, 14 years, 6 months, and 5 days. I asked the angel, what is this? He says, this was the day that you became Bali. Right under it, what do I see? He says, all of the a'mal that I used to do before I was baligh, they have all been written there. Then the angel tells me, start reading your book and then you will figure out if you have prepared for the akhirat. He says, I start to read my book, the first page. I prayed on time. I used to volunteer in the Hussainiyah. I used to give to the water to the pilgrims. I used to take care of the rights of the mu'mineen, hukuk al-nas, hukuk Allah. As I am reading this, when I get to the last sentence, all of my a'mal are erased. I asked the angel, what happened? Why are my a'mal erased? He points and he says, on that particular day, after the majlis had finished, you were backbiting one of your brothers. All of your amal, automatically they have been transferred into his namay amal. Now he starts to think to himself, am I really prepared for the akhirah? He says, read more. He keeps reading and reading. Then he starts reading his amal. I helped an orphan. I helped an old lady. There was a time when I helped the elderly. On the bottom, when I read the last sentence, when I get to the last sentence, all of my amal have been erased. I asked the angel, now what happened? He said, on that particular day, after you did all of the amal, you had a gathering with your friends and you humiliated that brother. Because you humiliated him, all of your amal for that day have been erased. And he says, I kept reading my amal, all of my amal. It looks like I have nothing. Then I come to a particular page. I read that it says, I have the same sawab of Hajj. I have the sawab of ihtirami walidain. I say, I have never been to Hajj. What is this? He says, because you went to the ziyarat of Imam Ali al-Riza. Salawatullah wa salamuhu alayh. You went to the ziyarat. He says, I keep reading this slowly and slowly. When I get to the last sentence, my ziyarat, the thawab, is gone. The thawab of Hajj is gone. I look at the angel and I say, what has happened now? He said, remember when you were in the bus and you were coming back from the ziyarat? Remember you were making fun of the brother who was wearing clothes that were dirty? Allahu Akbar. Because you were making fun of that person, all of your amal have been transferred into his account. Yes. Preparation of the akhirat. I am skipping all of the story and the last sentence. He says, I am flipping the book of Amal, and then I see one act that is a positive act. This act is helping me erase all of my previous acts. When I read this and I say, it says, we have been ordered by Hussein ibn Ali to forgive all of your sins. He says, before this, before I read this page, he says, the left part of my body was burning, except my cheek, my palms, and my chest. When I asked, why aren't these burning? The angel responded and he says, remember when you used to go to the Majlis Hussein? Remember when you used to cry and you used to spread all of the tears over your cheek? You used to put it on your palms and your chest. This is the barakat of those tears that the fire of the hell cannot even touch you. Yes. Last sentence. And then he says, then I go and I see that there's one act. This act is helping me. All of my negative sins, they are being erased and automatically they are being turned into good deeds. When I read, what do I see? It says we have been ordered by Hussein ibn Ali to forgive his sins. He says, why? He said, do you remember there was a time when you went to the Ziyarat of Abu Abdullah, and in that caravan there was an old man who was deaf and who couldn't speak? And you remember they asked who would be the volunteer to help this man? And you raised your hand. Remember when you, in the mornings, you used to take him to the Ziyarat. In the afternoons and in the late nights, you used to take this man to the ziyarat. And then one day, there came a time when the caravan was ready to go. This man who couldn't speak, he pointed to the ziyarat of Abu Abdullah. Then he pointed at you and he made a certain prayer. And he said, "O Abu Abdullah, the whole world has left me because I can't speak nor hear, except this young man. O Abu Abdullah, when it comes time for his Na'mah Amal, make sure everything is erased." Allah. This is the preparation of Akhirah. This is the barakat of Ziyaratul Hussein. Yes. May Allah give us the tawfiq that we can become the true mu'mineen that Imam wants us to become. May Allah give us the tawfiq that we can go to ziyarat and hajj on a daily, annually basis. May Allah give us the tawfiq when the Imam comes, we can be a part of his army. In the musibat, these are the days of Kufa and Sham. And when the sisters of Abu Abdullah were paraded through the streets of Kufa and Sham. Before I mention that, I will mention a few sentences of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. When Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas is ready to go, he comes to the Imam. The Imam gives him the permission. When Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas is ready to climb his horse, Sakina salamullah alayha, she comes running. She hugs Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas and she says, "Oh my uncle Abbas, when you bring water, will I be the first one you give it to?" Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas says, "Oh Sakina, pray that I come back. And if I come back, I will make sure I will give you the water." Now what happens? All of the children, they come to Sakina. They grab their bowls and their cups and they have surrounded Sakina. Now Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, he goes, he makes his way to Nahr al-Furat. When he makes his way to Nahr al-Furat, he fills his water bag. When he fills his water bag, 4,000 army troops have surrounded Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. They said, we cannot kill Abbas like this. What do we do? They say, fire arrows all over Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. What happens? Abu al-Fadl is coming and he's coming. What does he see? He sees that there are hundreds of arrows that are coming at him. While the arrows are coming, a man comes from the back. He cuts his right arm off. Abu Fadl takes the water bag, he puts it on the left side, and then a man comes from the left and he strikes Abu Fadl Abbas on the left. Now his left arm has cut off. What does he do with the water bag? He puts it in his teeth and he keeps looking at the tents. While he is looking at the tents, Hurmila is order, shoot an arrow into the eye of Abu Fadl. Allahu Akbar. Hurmila, he takes the aim and an arrow comes. It strikes Abu Fadl in the eye. He gets hit and he shakes on his horse. Even though there is an arrow, he still has the water bag in his teeth. Now Umar ibn Sa'd says, fire an arrow into the water bag. Now when they fire the arrow into the water bag, all of the water comes out. When the water comes out, Abu al-Fadl Abbas tells himself, there's no need to go into the khamas no more. While this is happening, when Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas is on the horse, sometimes he is moving left and right. While he is moving, a man comes from the back. He strikes on the back of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas's head. He falls down. When he falls down, there are three reactions. The first reaction, those children that has surrounded Sakina with their bowls and their cups, they drop all of their bowls and they say, oh Sakina, from today we will not ask for water. The second reaction, Imam Hussain, Hamid ibn Muslim says, when Abu al-Fadl Abbas fell, Imam Hussain was saying, Al-an inkasara dhahri. Now my back has been broken. And the third reaction, Bibi Zainab Salamullah alayha, she gathers all of the females in the tents. She puts her hand on their hijab and they all say, Wa hijaba. Allahu Akbar. These are the days of Kufa and Sham. When the caravan was moving from Karbala to Kufa and Sham, Shimr Lanatullah alayh, he had the habit. He would come to the horse or the camel of Sakina Salamullah alayha. When he would come, he would whip the camel. When he would whip the camel, Sakina would fall down. When she would fall down, Allahu Akbar, what would Shimr do? Shimr would get off his horse. He would go to Sakina. He would grab both of her hands. He would raise his hand. He would strike Sakina on the face. And then he would point and he would say, where is your uncle Abbas? Why don't you call Abbas? Allahu Akbar. The caravan, when it reached to the streets of Kufa and Sham, the ladies, they would stay on top of the houses. When they are on top of the houses, all of them have stones in their hands. Each of them, they are speaking with each other. There's one particular lady, she has a stone which is big as a palm. She has it in her hand. She is waiting and she is waiting. Her friend asks her, why do you not throw the stone? She says, I am waiting for the one they call Zainab. When she comes, I will throw it at her. The caravan, it moves forward. When it moves forward, behind Fizza is Zainab. One of her friends tells her, "This is Zainab." What does she do? She uses all of her force. She throws the stone at Zainab. It strikes her on the head. She starts to bleed. And she says, "Wa Husayna, oh Hussein, look at your sister Zainab." Allahu Akbar. The caravan, it keeps moving into the streets. It comes into the courtyard of Abdullah ibn Ziyad. Abdullah ibn Ziyad, lanatullah alayh, he has a son by the name of Tahir. He is either 10 or 11 years old. He tells all the females stand there. But this man they call Zain al-Abidin, you move forward. The Imam, he moves forward. Abdullah ibn Ziyad, he gives a whip into the hand of his son Tahir. He says, "Oh Tahir, I want you to strike the back of this man." What does Tahir do? He lifts the curtain or shirt of Imam Zainul Abidin. When he lifts the shirt, Tahir drops the whip and he says, "Oh father, if you want to kill me, go ahead. I cannot strike this man anymore." He says, "Why?" He says, "Look at this man's back. There is no place on his back that is not bleeding, that does not have a bruise, that does not have a wound. وما علينا إلا البلاغ مات من حسين."
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, दुखदर शेर खुदा जाती है दरबार में, दुखदर शेर खुदा जाती है दरबार में, बिनते शहे दो सया जाती है दरबार में, दुखदर शेर खुदा है दरबार में, दुखदर शेर खुदा जाती है दरबार में, बिनते शहे दो सया दरबार में, मखना चादर सीना रस्सी से बाजू बांधा, मखना चादर सीना रस्सी से बाजू बांधा, पहाड़ शेर खुदा जाती है दरबार में, दुखदार बार में, दुखदार शेर खुदा बार में, बिनते शहे दो साया बार में, कुर्सियों पे अहले सर, अश्र पे हजरत का सर, कुर्सियों पे अहले सर, अश्र में हजरत का सर, इतरत शेर खुदा जाती है दरबार में, शेर खुदा जाती है दरबार में, दुखदार है दरबार में, दिल से शहे जाती है दरबार में, करती है ज़ैनब ये बेन ऐ मेरे भाई हुसैन, करती है ज़ैनब ये बेन ऐ मेरे भाई हुसैन, आले रसूल खुदा जाती है दरबार में, बिन खुदा जाती है दरबार में, रुखसार है दरबार में, बिन शहे बार में, शोर है फरियाद का ख्वाहर शाह हुदा, शोर है फरियाद का ख्वाहर शेर खुदा, ये शेरू सा काफिला जाती है दरबार में, रुखसार बार में, रुखसार शेर खुदा जाती है दरबार में, बिन से शहे दो साया जाती है दरबार। على أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات صواب الفاتحة.
السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا نبي الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدتي نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين، وعلى 9 المأسومين من ذريتك، علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي. السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان، سيدي الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن، السلام عليك يا كعبة الإيمان، السلام عليك يا إمامنا وإمام الإنس والجان، عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك ورحمة الله وبركاته.